Hey y'all, welcome to Army Men Review. Today we're going to be looking at Red Invasion by Cold Steel Animations. This fun little film is a minute and 30 seconds long, featuring a skirmish between a group of blues and reds. It's a nice short watch, and I see a lot of potential in Cold Steel Animations. Even though I'm going to criticize this film, I think he gets a lot right that I won't be able to mention. I think with just a few adjustments, he can make some real amazing films. So, enough with the pretext. I'm going to divide my criticisms into two categories, speed and camera techniques. Let's start with the latter. While the animation features a decently large battle scene, I feel a tremendous sense of wasted potential. Cold Steel Animations mostly uses wide or medium shots. I can see all the action, but I don't feel any of it as a viewer. It all looks so small, so insignificant, too detached from me as the viewer. I don't feel the peril that these men are in by charging out in the open. I would advise breaking up shots with a few close-ups. Maybe an army man pauses to fire his weapon, or a group gets shoot up by a machine gun. Close-ups pull the viewer into the action instead of keeping them at a distance. Something that I find very effective at making the viewer feel present in the action and maintaining a sense of multiple moving parts is having a close-up on one object and a couple others moving in the background. Now, don't get me wrong, it's still important to have wide establishing shots, just don't rely on them too much or you'll remove all sense of emotion from the action. You have to decide what mood you want your film to be in. Pick camera angles that will telegraph that to the audience. An eerie film will use crooked angles, and an intense film, ultra close-ups. Just choosing camera angles at random is kind of a missed opportunity. And one more thing. The camera seems to be pretty unstable. There's occasional bouts of flickering, and the lighting is kinda boring. I would advise finding a very stable surface to film on. This seems to be filmed on a cardboard box, which probably isn't the best idea for stability. Another possible cause of this is that Cold Steel Animations may be hitting the actual camera shutter button on whatever device he is using. This really isn't a good idea because it can cause, slight camera jitters and big things that you might not even realize. I would suggest getting a remote camera clicker thing. They're pretty cheap on Amazon, and I have one myself. It's definitely a worthwhile investment. As for flickering, he definitely has most of it under control. Some flickering is unavoidable, I know. Some quick fixes he could use for next time are making sure his finger is out of the lens area every time he shutters the camera, getting a lamp to film with, and making sure his shadow is always out of frame. Having a lamp was another massive upgrade for me as it reduced or even eliminated the impact of my shadow and allowed me to light up shots much better. On to criticism category number 2, speed. Whenever army men move in this film, it's too slow. These men are supposed to be charging at the enemy, but they're speed walking at best. I would advise either upping the frame rate or the speed on just these specific charging scenes, but making the action last a little longer. One more thing is that before each take switches to the next one, there's a slight pause. Looks like a couple frames are copied. This is kind of noticeable after a while, and you can get away with it at the beginning of a shot to kind of establish it, but at the end it's too noticeable, and cutting out these extra frames and maybe lengthening each take would be a massive improvement. My last suggestion, which is sort of miscellaneous, is to edit on some kind of software that doesn't have a watermark. iMovie on iOS or UCut on both iOS and Android are platforms which I have used and don't use watermarks. Anyway, that's it for my criticisms. Now, don't get me wrong, Cold Steel Animations has a lot right here. His speed of cuts, his pacing was fine, he had a decent sense of scale, and he had good VFX and good voice acting. I wish him the best of luck, and I hope this review helps him and other creators reach new heights. Anyway, that was the review. If you want your or someone else's video to be reviewed next, leave a comment. Anyway, I'll see you all later on Crisis Monday.